Is it recording?
It is recording.
I suppose that's the first thing you're supposed to say on one of these things.
Yes. Okay, so hi everyone. This is my friend Bob.
G'day.
And Bob and I have known each other for, I would say, 15 years?
Something like that,
Yeah. Obviously we met through the Star Wars fan club, as you can see from Bob's shirt. Bob, I'd like to ask you, first of all, what is this video, why are we recording it?
Well, for those of you who are not from Australia, right now our federal government has decided to do a public vote, or survey as it now is, as to marriage equality. And one of the biggest things that's coming out of this is a lot of ignorance, basically. A lot of people who are anti-equality or even just straight out homophobic because they either don't know or they don't understand, or they're just scared of something that they don't appreciate or want to know about, really.
Yeah.
And so Brendan came up with this idea of having a straight man asking a...
That's him, but
I'm the straight man.
Yeah.
Asking a gay man, that's Brendan, believe it or not.
I'm as surprised as all of you.
So a straight man asking gay man some questions based on possible misconceptions or ignorances, and hopefully Brendan can answer those questions.
Now, because I'm a gay man, I'm going to be talking about gay life a lot, but I am using that as a shorthand for the queer or LGBTI community. I can only talk about my own experience, is I guess what I'm saying.
So just so we're clear before we keep going, the term queer is no longer just used for two men who are together. It's used as a generalised term for the entire LGBTI community.
Yeah, I've always known it as that. I think it's one of those terms where it used to be used as pejorative, and it's, with some people it's still used as a pejorative, but we kind of reclaimed it.
Right.
But at the same time, I can certainly understand, and there are friends of mine who are trans who have expressed this concern in this same-sex marriage postal survey discussion, that the trans community is sort of being marginalised, and it's all about same-sex couples marrying. There is a senator in Australia, I believe her name is Janet Rice, whose partner transitioned is a woman, but cannot complete her transition, cannot be legally recognised as a woman without divorcing.
Right, yes, I've heard of this story, yeah.
Because they've been together so long and they love each other as people rather than looking at each other as sexes or genders. Right. But in order to complete her transition, they would have to get divorced. And I also know someone in the same position. And yeah, that's
kind of messed up.
Yeah, and that is something that's not being talked about much in the marriage equality debate, and that's possibly because people who aren't LGBTI can more easily get their heads around two men or two women wanting to marry than the situation where someone has transitioned, and so there are two women who are married, but one of the women, it still says male on her birth certificate, etc., etc. And I think that's part of the reason. But it's very important that we don't lose sight of the fact that marriage equality is about more than two men or two women being able to get married. It is about the trans community as well. It's also about the intersex community, because if you are intersex and you don't recognise yourself as male or female, and the marriage law says that marriage is between a man and a woman, how do you get married?
Right.
And, you know, the recognition of third gender is not widespread. There is the famous case in Sydney, of course, of Norrie. I'm not sure if you've heard of Norrie, but Norrie doesn't identify as male or female, and Norrie has since attempted to get married since being recognised as not male or female, and can't. Because...
Can you identify as non-gender with your birth certificate in Australia?
I don't know the full legality of it. I know that Norrie has had their documents changed. But but I don't know about the widespread, whether others have done it as well.
Right.
That's the narrowness of the question. Should the law be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry? Because it's not just same-sex couples that this affects.
Yeah. But surely to allow same-sex couples is purely just about the removing of wording man and woman.
Yeah, and it's just a shame that the question isn't, should the Marriage Act be amended to read two persons?
Right.
Because that's what it was before it was changed in 2004.
I have a colleague at work who is gay, and he is of the impression that gay people haven't earned marriage equality because of a combination of, like cruising and basically just, again, for want of a better term, the casual sex culture of the gay community.
Yeah, and well, I think that's kind of playing into the hands of our opponents, because some of our opponents say that, oh well, we shouldn't legalise gay marriage because gays don't have long-lasting relationships anyway.
Right.
And, you get gay people who've been in relationships for 50 years. I'm coming up on 5 years of my relationship. There are people who get married after 1 or 2 years. So, straight couples get married and people kind of go, oh, okay, that's a bit soon, but yeah, whatever, have your fun. And yeah, I don't know the statistics of how many straight people have casual sex before they get married.
I think part of what he was saying is when you're apparently, like from his view, it's very common for casual sex to continue when you're in a relationship as well.
Well, that is true that there are gay couples in open relationships.
Would you say gay people are more open with their sexuality then?
Because when we realise that we're gay, it also means that what we've been taught about grow up, meet, in my case, a woman, fall in love, have kids, buy a house. Well,
unless you live in Sydney.
Buy a box. That's not necessarily true of us. And it's like, well, what parts of that do we actually want? And that's where that experimentation comes in. And I think to say that people who are in open relationships shouldn't be able to get married, that is a gross breach of privacy. Because it is looked down upon, but perfectly socially acceptable, for a straight couple to get married and one of them to have an affair. That's seen as just something that happens.
Right.
And no one calls for them to get divorced. If they come back to their partner and say, look, I've had an affair, it's then up to them. But to then say that the gay community can't have two people in a loving relationship who might occasionally say, you know what, we would like to sexually experience someone else, but still come back to each other, and they're open and honest with each other about that, and they talk about it, negotiate it, decide what their limits are, decide what that means for their relationship, and can actually make their relationship stronger. To say that this married couple having an affair is normal and that just happens, and that this committed couple occasionally opening up their relationship sexually, that's deviant and that doesn't deserve to be known as marriage. It's a ridiculous idea. When this whole thing blew up around safe schools, and it's grooming children and my son was told he could wear a dress, I went to the website and I read their materials. And it's not. And it doesn't. What it asks students to imagine is that there are people different from them and that they should be accepted. And this is somehow seen as dangerous. It's just been turned into this bogeyman because it's teaching kids that queers are people. And that's the reason behind it. The woman on the recent ad who said, my son was told he could wear a dress next year, the principal of her son's school has come out and said, that's never happened here, etc., etc. And
we know you're lying.
And my mum called me right after she saw that ad, and she said, I wear trousers. I'm like, yeah, exactly, it's a double standard. She said, no, you don't understand, dresses are uncomfortable. Why would a boy even want to wear a dress?
Well, that's the great irony, isn't it? biologically, it makes more sense for males to wear dresses.
Yeah. And you know what? I've worn frocks, I've worn kilts.
He looks damn good in a frock.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna the producer,
wrap it up.
the executive producer is giving us the wrap up signal. That would be my wife.
Yes, I actually have to get to the same-sex marriage rally this afternoon. So
I'll wrap it up with the final question. Which,
yes.
Why do gay people want marriage equality?
One, it's the equality part. We want to be treated equally. Two, our loved ones to be treated equally. There are couples coming forward who've been together for decades and can't get married, and they're campaigning for marriage equality massively now, partly because one of them might be dying. And there are people who have now died unmarried with their relationship of 50 years unrecognised. Three, it is the legal security. Now, an argument people are throwing up is, de facto couples have the same rights as married couples. They actually don't. There's several rights that are not automatically conferred, including the right to access in hospital if your partner is injured. And that was exemplified last year. A British couple were holidaying in South Australia. On their honeymoon, one of them fell down the stairs and died. And the hospital and authorities would not let his partner help plan the funeral. The dead man's father had to come over, and thankfully they're on good terms. But there are so many examples of families who aren't, because of course a lot of families do reject their queer children. But yeah, they're the three ones. It's just general equality. It's the fact that we love each other the way that you as straight people love each other. And the fact that we want to be able to look after each other. We want, if something does happen to us, for our partner not to have to go through the additional pressure of possibly fighting families, fighting the law. Even a will can be challenged more if it's based on a de facto relationship than if it is based on a married relationship. There are ways for us to sort of fill out dozens of forms to get 95% of the same rights as a straight couple, but getting married is filling out the marriage declaration, the marriage certificate, and getting those automatically conferred. So, it is about love. Make no mistake that it's about love. But it's also about protection. And it's about being able to love each other when maybe we won't be around to. That's it.
I suppose there is one follow-up question to that, of course. And I suppose it's going to be a simple yes or no answer, really, is will marriage equality lead to bestiality being legalised and all the other scare campaigns? I can think of bestiality and incest and 15 other things that I've heard of.
Yep.
Is marriage equality anything other than marriage equality? No, it's not. And people say, look at other countries. Okay, let's look at the Netherlands. The Netherlands have had marriage equality since 2001. They're actually quite comparable to Australia. They have 3/4 of our population, but similar demographics in terms of religion and age. He doesn't like that people can't get married.
So they have had marriage equality for 16 years. Bestiality is not legal there. Marrying a child is not legal there. Marrying your brother or sister is not legal there. People say that, if we let you get married, then we'll have to let these other people get married. That is absolute nonsense. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about two consenting adults who are not married, who are of the age of majority, and human, and
not related,
and can give consent. Yeah.
There's that key term.
Consent, exactly.
Finishing up now, it's vote yes.
Vote yes. And if you want to...
Sorry. Survey yes.
Survey yes. And if you want to see another video like this, you know what? If you have any questions, chuck them down in the comments. We might answer them. Pretty much, we aim for a PG rating, so just consider that.
Is there any literature people can read or websites they can go to?
Yes, there is yes.org.au, which is down there, which can tell you about how you can support the Yes campaign. Because it's not compulsory, there is a chance that people who would vote yes are not going to send their form in. So the most important thing is if you're considering voting yes, or if you're considering not voting as a protest but would vote yes if it was compulsory, vote yes anyway.
And with that, the other executive producer is saying we need to wrap up. Come over here.
Good night.
Let him over. Let him over.
Whole hour.
Let him over. Come
He's
here.
done so well. This is Bob's son Emmett, who is making a beeline for the camera.
It's a new shiny thing. So now, I know this is going to sound odd, but I'm going to do something that a lot of straight people fear from the gay community. Will you hold my son?
Hold your son. Hello. My sister has 4 kids. It's been a while since I was this young.
So thank you for watching us rattle on. I've gathered a new respect for why Flight Through Entirety takes so long to edit.
It's going straight for the camera. We should just wrap it up. Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Or good day.
Or good day.
Or good evening. Good afternoon.
Goodbye.
You pooed.
Yeah.